1,500 to 2,000. That is the estimated number of amusement parks in the United States in the year 1919. Obviously, we do not have that many amusement parks in America anymore, unfortunately. But it also brings up the question of why did we have so many amusement parks during that time period? And believe me, there are a lot of reasons why. But there's one major one that I want to discuss in this video. But what does that have to do with Minerva Park? Well, Minerva Park was part of this trend of all these amusement parks being built. For some context, Minerva was an early amusement park that operated in Columbus, Ohio. It opened in the late 1890s and it closed by the early 1900s. You could refer to Minerva as being a trolley park. In fact, you should. It definitely is a good example of a trolley park. And that kind of leads us into our discussion here. So what exactly is a trolley park? Trolley parks gained relevance by the late 1800s. Their relevance came from the increase in popularity of electric rail, aka trolley lines, aka streetcars. It was new, exciting technology, and it definitely beat out the old-fashioned horse-powered lines that once were common in American cities. As more and more were built, trolley companies, or opportunistic business people, built parks along the rail. This worked out well for the parks because by being close to the rail, it was easy for people to travel to said park. In the case of Minerva, you can say that it's the former. The trolley company, they built the line, they also built the amusement park. And how exactly did that happen? Well, that story starts in the late 1890s. A group of locals living on the outskirts of Columbus, maybe 10 miles from downtown, they were not happy with the available trolley service. They were trying to go closer to downtown to go to the state fair, and they were unable to. The train passed by the stop. It didn't stop because it was already filled. So they got mad. They had a public forum, and a man named Gary Waldo Meeker took charge. Gary Waldo Meeker had a plan. He wanted to fundraise, he wanted to find investors, and he wanted to use it all to build a trolley line to go into the city of Columbus so that something like the state fair would never ever happen again. And he was successful. He evidently convinced people, and I mean the line was built. He was the treasurer of the company that resulted from this. And even before the completion of the line, they constructed an amusement park near where the line would end. And of course, that amusement park is Minerva Amusement Park. So why exactly did they do this? Well, I alluded to the fact earlier that trolley companies often just went ahead and built their own park. And I want to add, usually near the end of the trolley line. And the reason for this was that they would have trouble maintaining steady ridership all day. It would be high when people were going to work and coming home from work, midday dead, evening dead, and then weekends not as busy. So they wanted to give people a reason to use their trolley line, and the solution was to just go ahead and put a park near the end of the line. And this progressed from, when I say park, like a literal traditional park with like a picnic area and a lake. And from there it progressed to more elaborate entertainment. You got stuff like casinos, stuff like museums, at least in the case of Minerva. And then early amusement park attractions. Minerva ended up having a shoot-the-chutes ride. It ended up having a switchback railway, an early roller coaster model. What I also find interesting is the fact that the park was built even before the railway was completed. So this idea of building an attraction near the end of the line was, I can only assume, clearly established at this point. Meeker made the suggestion of building the park, and he must have been well read and familiar with how to keep a trolley line profitable. Everything is just smooth sailing, total honeymoon period. They have the park, they have their trolley line. They never get stood up by other trolley lines going to the state fair ever again, and everything seems great. But then tragedy strikes. They closed Minerva Park, and why does it close? Well, it closes due to competition. Only about 3 miles from downtown, there was an amusement park called Olentangy Park. And like I said, very close to downtown Columbus. I used to live in the area, and I mean, it's kind of where the park was, it's kind of downhill, but if you're in the right spot, you can literally see downtown. You could just look straight down the main road and you can see downtown. And I mean, in contrast, Minerva, it's about a 15-minute drive. I mean, today. Back then, you had to take a slow trolley line, a slow train. The parks were actually owned by the same people by this point, the Duesenberry brothers. And evidently, they decided to invest in Olentangy. There was a period where Olentangy actually became the largest amusement park in the country. And Minerva's just kind of an afterthought. And it should be, because it's much further from downtown. And it was really only built to drive traffic on a railway. It's not in a convenient spot at all. Minerva Park closes, and the land that it stood on remained abandoned for a number of years, a few decades. Eventually, they started building houses on the site, they formed a small little community, and they incorporated themselves as a village. And the village is called Minerva Park. So I like that they have the namesake. And then they also have a historical marker by the lake that the park was once centered around, and it's pretty cool. Minerva Park itself is not very interesting. I don't think it's a very interesting amusement park at all, actually, but I think that kind of is an advantage in a video like this, because it's very average. It's almost like you could generalize it, and things that happened with Minerva happened to a lot of amusement parks. A lot of amusement parks were built under reasonably similar circumstances. My hope is that in this video you could kind of see why so many amusement parks were built by 1919. Remember, up to 2,000 amusement parks were built at that point. And you can see why there was incentive to do so with the trolley companies and their business model. And that's all I have for you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying all the way to the end. You can, as they say in the YouTube world, like, comment, and subscribe. If you have questions about Minerva Amusement Park, you can just place those below. And yeah, maybe I'll make more in the future.